Incapable and predestined, yet accountable? According to the tea in Tulip, man is unable to respond to God in any way except rebellion. He is free to pursue sin and to reject the gospel, but because he is totally incapable of seeking or pleasing God by the Calvinist definition, he cannot believe the gospel or have any faith in God. He can respond to God only in unbelief and disobedience. Palmer declares that the non-Christian is hostile to God. He is not even able to understand the good. White says he can understand but not embrace it. Allegedly, by his eternal decree, God has predestined man's every thought, word, and deed, including the most heinous atrocities committed by the world's worst criminals. Man's rebellion is only the acting out of what God has predetermined man will and must do. So man isn't a rebel, but a puppet. How can that which God foreordained and causes man to do be condemned as sinful rebellion against God's will? How can it be disobedience to do what God has willed? How could God complain when man does what he predestined him to do? And how could man then be justly punished for doing what he has no capability of not doing? Such doctrine defames the God of love and justice, who reveals himself to mankind in the Scriptures. In defense of the character of the true God, John Wesley argued reasonably and biblically. He, God, will punish no man for doing anything he could not possibly avoid, neither for omitting anything which he could not possibly do. Every punishment supposes the offender might have avoided the offense for which he is punished. Otherwise, to punish him would be palpably unjust and inconsistent with the character of God. Astonishingly, Calvinists see neither injustice nor contradiction in God foreordaining man's sin, and then punishing him for what he could not avoid doing. This extreme view of sovereignty and predestination is applied to salvation by the doctrine of unconditional election. Although the Bible declares clearly and repeatedly that faith is the condition for salvation, believe and thou shalt be saved, he that believeth not shall be damned, etc., Calvinism's unconditional election will not even allow faith unto salvation. God simply decides to save some, called the elect, sovereignly regenerates them, and only thereafter gives them faith to believe on Christ, and damns the rest by his eternal decree. And God allegedly foreordains all this before he brings the doomed and damned into existence. Scripture and conscience, however, impose upon man the duty to rescue everyone possible. But the Calvinist insists that it glorifies God for him to rescue only a limited elect. John MacArthur calls the elect those chosen by God for salvation. That he chooses to damn the rest is said to show how wonderful it was that he saved at least some, thus causing the elect to be exceedingly grateful. The Calvinist attempts to escape the question of why God, who is love, saves so few, by saying that the real wonder is that God would save any, which is no answer at all. By this doctrine, if anyone is to be saved, God must, through irresistible grace, which we will come to later, sovereignly effect within the sinner a saving response to the offer of salvation. Clarke admitted, the two theses most unacceptable to the Arminians are that God is the cause of sin, and that God is the cause of salvation. Referring to the pronouncement of this doctrine at the Synod of Dort, England's King James, who gave us the King James Bible, though he was no Arminian and hardly a saint, expressed his repugnance. This doctrine is so horrible that I am persuaded if there were a council of unclean spirits assembled in hell, and their prince the devil were to ask their opinion about the most likely means of stirring up the hatred of men against God their Maker, nothing could be invented by them that would be more efficacious for this purpose, or that could put a greater affront upon God's love for mankind, than that infamous decree of the late synod.